Good morning, fellow denizens of the internet web. Snowing here in Japan. What time is it? 9:05 in the morning. It's snowing, it's settling, but not on the tarmac, fortunately, so you can still drive around safely. And it's fucking cold. Anyway, on to the subject of today's video. I have indulged my need for a new helmet. Check that beauty out. This is the Alpinestars Supertech R10 professional helmet. Yeah, I would have put stickers on the back. Woohoo! But yeah, that graphic design requires no further. I'm going to put some stickerage across the top of the visor, but maybe a Viking symbol on the side of the visor there. But I'm going to be restrained. Less is more with this helmet. I mean, look at it. A thing of beauty. I mean, that is just pure sex. Yeah, so this is about the speaker system for this helmet. You can see that I've already stuck the Cardman Packtalk Pro to the rear part. I've seen people, there's been a lot of videos saying which position is better, here is better, and some people say here's better. Basically, there was nowhere to stick it here. I don't know how people have managed to get it onto this part of the helmet. So I've stuck it here, and it's a perfect position for my hands, reaches it nicely, got the volume dial on it. So yeah, that's all done. So the story of the, because this is about the speaker systems for your helmet, your comms and your music. So my previous helmet was the Nolan made X-Lite X803, and that's a carbon helmet, carbon helmet. But it's just carbon. There's no other layer in it. It's pure carbon. Beautiful helmet. Not madly expensive either, funnily enough. I think when I got mine in England it was 400 quid. But for some strange reason, and it's not just them, it seems to be all of the helmet manufacturers, race helmets, don't provide pockets for speakers. And worse than that with the X803 was that the cheek pads slightly come over where your ears rest inside the helmet, and the only way to get my speakers in there, they're like flat drivers, you know, the ones that come with the Packman Pro and generics. They're a 40mm, 35, 40, 45, and they're about that thick, maybe, I don't know, 15mm thick. So with the X803 I had to slide them up and just try and gauge the position, and when they were in the perfect position for my ears, they were slightly behind the cheek padding. So every time I put the helmet on was potluck whether they would be just right and not hurt, or one of them would get slightly moved and be a bit of a irritant, usually on the left ear for some strange reason. But it kind of worked. But the sound was absolutely shite, and this is with them pressed behind the padding, so there's a distance on each ear of maybe that far from the speaker to the ear, and some of the sound is getting absorbed by the bit of padding that was over them, because I think maybe 2/3 of them were clear, you could see them inside the helmet, and the other third was hidden behind the cheek padding. So not ideal, shit quality sound. And in the end I took a soldering iron to the polystyrene pads inside, stripped the helmet out, took the pads out, the polystyrene blocks, and actually bored holes through with a soldering iron, and then made a floor inside the hole with plasticine, and then pushed the speakers in. So now the speakers are flush with the polystyrene padding, and then put the helmet back together again, put the cheek pads back in. Now you've got a distance of like that, but at least they're no longer mashing my ears and mashing the padding in and being like really a pain in the arse, a faff. But the sound was shit, and I got myself a bloody good speaker, music machine. I think it's a Theo, and it weren't cheap, but the amount of adjustments you can put, it's got a parametric equalizer, and it's got a whole stuff I don't even understand, but I've played with it trying to get the sound dialed in. Never got any decent bass out of them. Tinny as fuck. You have to dial down all the high frequencies just to stop the fucking things from shaking your eardrums out with the high frequencies. Shit. But some music's better than no music, right? Well, I was at the point where I'm like, I'm just not going to bother with the music anymore because it's so shit. It was so disappointing. But strangely enough, when you take the Cardman Packtalk Pro, I've got the 45mm drivers, JBL speakers, and you just hold them to your ears. The sound is sublime. The full rich bass, the high frequencies are not offensive, just beautiful sound reproduction through them for what they are, 45mm drivers that thick. So it wasn't the speakers, and it's not the machine, the MP3 player. It's an Android based thing, it's good quality. So anyway, I was looking online at helmets and shit, and I noticed that this Alpinestars sexy as fuck looking helmet actually has speaker cutouts in the polystyrene foam inside the helmet. They're about that deep, and they take a 45mm driver. The 45mm Packtalk, the JBL speakers, have got like a lip around the top edge, and then the main driver sits further underneath. So that lip actually pushed into the helmet's recesses, deformed the polystyrene away so that they sit in snug. You didn't have to Velcro them in. But once you pushed them in, they were lodged in nicely. I made little dips in the edges with a metal thing to make a space for the wires to go. So sorted, inserted, beautiful. Put the helmet on, comfortable as fuck. They're away from the ears. The ear pockets, the cheek padding doesn't go over your ears at all. It's just a clear empty space with the speakers sitting there. And I thought, this is going to be good. It's got to be good. But no, shit. No bass to speak of. The high frequency was blowing my eardrums out. I played with all the parametric curves and everything. I spent a couple of hours fucking around with the machine, the MP3 player, trying to dial in good sound. No, not having it. And I'm thinking, it's got to be the distance from the speakers to the ears, and or it's to do with the air gap behind the drivers. There needs to be an air gap. I've read that somewhere, that some drivers need a nice air gap behind, or just need air around to be able to move. So I'm like, oh, for fuck's sake, what's the solution to this now? And I kind of figured, wouldn't it be nice if you could have some kind of suspension system that held the drivers close, and when you put the helmet on, the suspension system would allow the drivers to push away from your ears, so they're just held gently against your ears, like as close as they can be, without mashing them and hurting, and there's no space anymore, and also have some airspace behind the drivers. And I'm like, well, how can I do this? So I made a skirt out of plastic card, bigger than that obviously, sellotaped it onto the drivers, and then put the skirt into the hole in the helmet, the space, the little pockets in the polystyrene. Did it with one, put the helmet on, and then on the MP3 player there's a little dial you can use to change the balance of the speakers. So I tested the right one that had the skirt on it, and I'm like, oh fuck me, that's better, there's bass there, because I compared it with the other one that was still the same, it was just pressed in flush, and there was a night and day difference between the sound quality out of the two speakers. And I'm like, oh man, I think I've cracked it. But then obviously, what's the distance of the skirt? How close can I have the speaker pressing my ear before it becomes painful? So I went back to thinking, I need some kind of suspension system. And I'm thinking, anyway, to cut a long story short, 30mm thick foam, and I cut 2 cylinders. And this helmet, the cheek pads are there, and all the other padding, and where the ear holes are, they give you 2 pieces of material that have got their own little foam padding in a pocket that is held in place by the clickers on the cheek pads, and they cover the holes that the speakers go in. So I made the cylinders of foam, I put those into the pockets in the helmet, and then I put the speakers onto the top of the cylinder of foam, and the back of the speakers, the drivers, have like a Velcro material. It's kind of imprinted into the plastic, and it's designed to grip Velcro pads. So the foam is gripping onto that, so they're not slipping around. Pushed them into the little pockets in the helmet, put the cheek pads back in, put the piece of material over, pinned it all in, and without any maddening faff, got the whole helmet back together again with the speakers suspended on these foam cylinder suspension units in the helmet pockets. Put the helmet on, pushed onto the ears, no pain, no aggravation, just perfectly slid on. I've now got the speakers pressing against my ears gently through the padded material of the helmet. It's about that thick, the padding material, so it slightly muffles them, but the muffling actually cuts down the high frequency irritation. But now the speakers have got foam behind, which is giving them an air gap. I don't know how much of a difference that makes, and the speakers are pressed against my ears gently, as close as they can be without causing discomfort, and the difference in the sound quality is absolutely phenomenal. I can't over stress or exaggerate the improvement. I've now got proper rich bass and volume, and the high frequencies aren't busting my eardrums. It's like a magical transformation. You can actually buy on Amazon foam cylinders made out of foam that are the exact distance you want. This is exactly 30mm. They're gardening. They're little cylindrical pieces of foam that are used for doing seedlings. So look for that. 45mm diameter and 30mm depth. I've ordered some because I'm going to make this better for no particular reason other than I just like things to be perfect. You know, this is rough. It works, but you can see I cut them out. They're a bit rough. So I've got those on the way. So yeah, 45mm diameter, 30mm depth. Put those into the pockets inside the helmet. Put your speakers on top, and then put the helmet back together again with the included pieces of padding material that cover the speakers. Bob's your uncle. Massive, massive improvement in the quality of music in your crash helmet, as long as you get the Alpinestars R10, and it ain't cheap. I think in the EU it's 1,200 euros, which is 1,000 English pounds, and in Japan, Japanese wage money pro rata, this helmet cost me 2,000 quid in Japanese wage terms, £1,000 in English money. I've mentioned this in the boot video. So yeah, the helmet wasn't cheap, but my God, the transformation in the music quality. I've not actually been on the bike yet with it because the weather's been so bad. If you've got any questions about this, I mean, I think I've explained it pretty clearly. You basically just want to get foam cylinders, stick them in the helmet's ear pockets, and then stick your speakers on top of the cylinder. Put the helmet back together again, and you've got suspended speakers inside your helmet that will always be as close as they can be to your ear without hurting them, and no resistance, no problem putting the helmet on and off, because it all just slides over your ears. Yeah, so that's that. Hopefully some of you will try it out. I don't know how many people can afford this fucking helmet. There's going to be a very small number of people. Hopefully some of you that have got this helmet and you've got the Packtalk Pro and want to improve your music quality, this is how you do it. So hope that's been informational, entertaining, interesting, whatever. Thank you for watching and listening, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.